All right, we ready? And grab your bag and go. That's it, move. Go, 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 go. One, Armani suits and run.
All right. Welcome to week 9. Armani suits and run for Circa Millions. Good week. We had a good week. Finally got ourselves a 4-1 week. Went 4-1, improved to 16-24 overall. So a
That's not
big,
that bad. That doesn't sound that bad.
it's a big 3-point jump, for us, which is we gained 3 points on ourselves, which was huge.
Yep.
So, I think we
41%.
what's that?
41%.
Yeah. But we, I think obviously last week, with the high Bowen, you welcoming a baby girl into the world. And
Yes.
I think the vibes last week were great. We were feeling it coming off the pod,
Yep.
and it carried over into the week. We had our first Costanza, which hit.
Want to
Uh,
know?
Costanza's 1-0. But yeah, just to recap the game. So I was on the Bills, -3. They were in Seattle. Won pretty handily up there. Kieran, you were on the Chargers. Who did they play? I forget.
The Good question. Wow.
Jesus.
Um, I actually couldn't tell you. I don't even have anything on my
I'm
tip.
pulling
Because
it.
why did I have J.K. Dobbins to score 2 touchdowns? Who'd they play?
Because they were going up against the Saints, who are bums.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Good
That's
match.
yeah. So you were on the Chargers -7.5. They won 26-8. Pretty convincing. Saints obviously in a world of hurt. Um, Bowen. Oh, killed me. Backdoored. Uh,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
saw it. We saw it coming the whole way too. Um, I mean, I was like, I was standing here in the kitchen talking with our dad, and I'm like, he's asking like, "Oh, how we looking for the game so far?" So I was telling him we had two in the bag, and we were up on the Chiefs. I said, but got a bad feeling. And lo and behold, Raiders marched right down the field, soft coverage.
There's like 4.5 minutes left too. There's like the perfect amount of like garbage time left. Like just
Yeah,
bad looks. Just
yeah.
really, really bad looks all around.
Good,
So
I mean, overall, good read on the game. Yeah, just victim to the back door.
Pat
Uh,
Mahomes stinks in real life. I don't care.
I mean, we're not gonna have a choice. We're gonna talk about him this week. So,
Yeah.
the Monday night game. Um, and then for the Sunday night game, so we're 2-1 heading into the Sunday night game. All three of us were on the Cowboys +4, and as a result, we enacted our very first Costanza rule. Um, so, just to recap, if we're all on the same side for one of the primetime games, automatically triggers the Costanza rule, which means we go with the opposite of what we were thinking. So we took the 49ers -4. And the 49ers -4 covered. So it was a great, great win, 3-1 heading into Monday night. Myself and Kieran were on the Steelers -6, and the Steelers covered. I did not watch a look at that game. I was in Seattle with a client dinner. I got back to my hotel room, read through all the texts. I don't know how we did it, but we covered. Great win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the way the Steelers look with Russ. It was kind of just part of my read as well, where it just felt like they enjoy catching the ball from him more
Mhm.
than they did for Justin Fields. And I think that it's something that we're starting to see with some of these quarterbacks, especially the ones that come in and they kind of have, they have the running ability and they have that raw arm talent. But I think we're seeing now with a lot of these old, first overall picks and then these veteran quarterbacks, as they're aging, starting to thrive a little bit more when they step into these situations is because they know more how to play quarterback than how to just be, a thrower in the pocket and everything like that. And Anthony Richardson is somebody, and we're going to talk about that Colts game as well, but he just got benched, and I think a lot of it is in, Bowen and I, we've been talking about it a lot this week because we're seeing a lot of people that we follow on Twitter and that we just know about in the fantasy community that they had a lot of Anthony Richardson takes and they're kind of holding on to it and dying on that hill and they're defending it and they're saying, oh, well, he had these drops. And, when you look at the numbers, there really aren't that many drops or anything like that. But I think that it's just like a lot of these guys don't know how to throw the proper pass, and they don't know how to throw, with the touch that's needed, and that's something that Russell Wilson can do, especially with some of these moon balls that he's so famous for. But yeah, I mean, I think that he just provides a spark to that offense. It was a good rushing matchup for them, and they were able to lean on Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. And I think that it got a little interesting towards the end, but they were able to hold on and keep that cover for us. And yeah, I mean, it was just good. It was a good way to wrap up the week.
Well, even, what you were just saying about like quarterbacks knowing like what pass to make. Like I actually saw that last night because it was a Thursday night game. Um, CJ Stroud made a pass like that on that deep ball that he hit to Tank Dell. I think it was like a 50-yard bomb, but Dell was like he was behind the defender, but the defender was kind of on him. And Stroud was like he was flushed out of the pocket to his left. And then he threw it downfield towards Dell, but he like threw it maybe 2 yards shorter than where he was going to be and like 3 to 4 yards to the right.
Yes.
And it like basically that throw is depending on his receiver looking back, reading that that ball is intentionally underthrown and off to the side so that he can come around, get an angle and make that catch. And that's exactly what he did, Like
Yeah.
he didn't try to drop it in a bucket or like throw it right at the defender. He intentionally made a throw to the side for the receiver to go get it. And you see that too with like Rodgers is great at this, has been historically, but like those back shoulder throws, just like the receiver knowing instinctually that that's where he's looking, it's
Yeah, that's when you have to like start to play outfield a little bit and just
yeah,
track the ball and go to it. And
right.
actually, Stroud had another one that I thought was really great where Tank Dell, I think it was a catch like inside the 5 maybe, but he had like two defenders like right behind him, and CJ
Yeah.
Stroud kind of threw it at his knees and he had to
Yeah.
go down and get it. And like literally the defenders never could have ever gotten to that ball.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was just on Tank Dell to kind of go and make the catch. And of course, he never had a chance of getting a touchdown with that play, but it was just getting them, inside the 5. And, I
Smart
don't know if
play, you know?
set up that mix and touchdown or,
Yep.
the way they were playing, they probably got backed up by some false starts or holding penalties or something. But yeah, I mean, it is. And I think that a lot of these young quarterbacks that we're seeing kind of come in and maybe flame out when they first get their start, it's because, they don't know how to really play that quarterback position. And that's like when Dalton takes over for Bryce Young or when Flacco takes over for Anthony Richardson and all of a sudden these offenses start to click. It's like, I feel like people should maybe take more note of that.
Yeah. Yep.
Even like Darnold, I mean, that's a guy, he's just come back and he's just wiser now. Same with Geno Smith. Like they just, they were way in over their heads when they first got their starts. And Darnold, I think, was thrown into the fire way more than Geno was. But,
Yeah.
those were two guys that they just like flamed out and they just did not have it. And I mean, especially Geno was written off for so long. But yeah, it's like they just actually just sat and learned. And like now they have a lot of experience and the game has finally, it appears to have slowed down for them. And, yeah, that's the difference. But yeah, I mean, I think as great as they were playing with Fields, it's like it's clear that Russell Wilson elevates that Steelers offense to something that they obviously did not have before.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So just to recap, where we are in terms of the standings. So in terms of individual picks, Kiernan's at the top of the leaderboard, 5-4. Or no, 5 and
Five
one,
and
two,
three.
5. Yeah, 5-3. Right. I'm just double checking here. 1-2, 2-2, 2-3. Yeah, 5-3. All right, so you're 5-3. I'm 3-5. Bowen's 2-6. 40, the foreign correspondence, 0-3. And Costanza's 1-0. In terms of the overall with the prime times, Kiernan's 10-11. I'm 9-12. Bowen's 8-13. So that's where we're at. All right. Should we get into the week 9 picks?
I do. I gotta give one more take too. Don't get me wrong, the catch was unbelievable. What are we talking about? Putting it even close to Odell's catch. I think that's an insane take.
Um,
Odell's was actually one-handed. It was actually three-fingered.
yeah,
Garrett Wilson brought it into two hands. Odell drew a DPI on the play
and still,
and still got everything in.
I feel like I feel like I gotta go back and like rewatch the Odell. It's amazing too.
He
It's
caught it with these fingers.
Can you believe it's been 10 years since that catch?
No, that's crazy.
That's pretty crazy.
That's
That's
unreal.
like end of high school, like core.
That's unreal. It's been 10
like,
years.
That's legit. Like I just remember. I just feel like I remember.
Well, that's like I sent a
Exactly.
picture to one of my college roommates the other day, and the picture was from 7 years ago. And I was like, the fact that I'm sending a college friend something from
Mhm.
7 years ago is just so crazy.
KB, I was at Manhattan College or the U or whatever you call it now, with you when the Jonas Gray game happened. Fucking like that. I mean, that in itself is like 8 years. How long ago was that? Like, we must have been like freshmen,
Yeah, I
freshmen
think
in college.
yeah. Was that when you went to the WWE house show?
And what?
Was that when you went to that house show, the WWE house show in Brooklyn?
Probably, yeah,
Yeah.
probably, yeah. But yeah, no, just crazy. It's we're just old as fuck.
I
Happens.
it always every time the topic of Odell comes up, I always have to go back and look at his stats because that 3 year run that he had when he first came in, like 2014 to 2016, was pretty prolific, and then he like just fell right off the map. It's like pretty stunning to go and look at his. I mean, obviously a lot of it's been injuries, but it's just wild. Like he hasn't done anything in a long time.
Long time.
Yeah.
I do wonder too. I mean, if he just went anywhere but the Browns. I mean, at that point he was starting to deal with some injuries already, and
Yeah.
of course he had like the torn ACL when he was, I
Yeah.
believe, on the Giants. But I don't know, just like the vibes are just so weird there. And of course Baker got the hot start, but by the end it was just so bad. And he looked so good when he was playing for LA, but he was, coming back from an injury. Then he just went off in the Super Bowl. Then he tore his ACL in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And, he was just like never able to get it going. But it's like, imagine, he always wanted to play with Tom Brady. Imagine if there was a link up there or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just wonder if he would have been able to stretch that peak out a little bit
Yeah.
longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just think the Garrett Wilson, like that looked way more like, because he didn't have like a defender draped on him like that. Like he got it's kind of the same thing that we were just talking about, where it's like he was able to come back and get
Yeah.
in front of the defender, and it almost looked, like at the end of like any sort of like sports camp, like a baseball camp, you start, it's like the last day, and you put up
Oh,
like the big mat and you
yeah. Yeah.
practice, either diving catches or robbing home runs. It looked like one of those where it's like, yeah, throw something up, and I'm just going to try and make a crazy catch in the end zone. And I looked way more like that, where it's, I mean, like Odell literally drew a DPI while making that
Yeah.
three-fingered catch. I just don't even think it's in the same stratosphere. And people are like, this might be the greatest catch of all time.
Yeah.
That was my Scott Hansen voice.
I still think the USC kids one-handed catch earlier this year, like week 1 or 2 or whatever it was
that's
better.
right.
People
Yeah,
forget about that.
That
catch.
was way better. That
was still, I think, the
Back
best.
when
That
we
was still
were
the best catch I think I've seen ever.
back when we were in our Miller Moss era.
Man, I'll
that
never
feels
forget
like
that.
years ago.
I'll
Seriously.
tell you though, what a run it was, huh?
It was cool.
I mean, that first game was unbelievable.
It was
what a
a week
great-
and a half. There was a week and a half there where I really
Yeah.
thought it was something.
we're on top of the world.
Hey, man. The second big cat said that was his Heisman bet, or his sneaky Heisman bet. I knew we were screwed.
It was over.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is where I started to get a kind of a bad
Kiss of death.
about it. I was like, damn, maybe we're kind of squares. All
Yeah.
All
right.
right.
Man, we're looking good. Oh, I just lag so hard.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh my gosh.
Benny.
I swear, we gotta keep, I wish maybe I'll go back and keep track. I swear I have the most first picks.
That
Yeah.
would-
Always me going first. All right. I feel like this. I sometimes I look at the line and I feel like maybe I'm walking into a trap, but I think that it started with the line actually being on the other side and then it flipped. So if it is a trap, I kind of I'm taking it on. It's a personal challenge, but I'm taking the Rams -1.5. And I like this when DK's status was still up in the air. He is now officially out. The Rams, they've been playing great in their two games coming out of the bye. The Seahawks, they've been playing terribly. I don't know what their record is. I think they're like 1-5 in their last six or something like that. They've been terrible straight up. They're not winning games. And they have the bye next week. And DK is out. They had an offensive lineman that was hurt. I don't know. I'm not sure what his official status is at this moment. But I just feel like this is kind of a limp into the bye week. And I think that the Rams, Puka Nacua did get hurt in practice this week. They are talking like he could be good to go, and if he's not, then he should be at least locked in for the next week. But all that matters to me is that Cooper Kupp's back. I mean, if Puka Nacua is not playing, then Cooper Kupp's going to get 20 targets like we've literally seen him do, and they can lean on that. I think it's a good matchup. The Seahawks, their defense has been getting killed lately, especially through the air and on the ground. They've been getting beat pretty damn bad. And I just feel like with the way that Kyron Williams is playing, and Sean McVay is really feeling Kyron Williams right now. He's giving him a ton of praise. But I think just having at least one weapon back in Cup for Stafford, and if Puka Nacua is back, we saw last week when he was expected to have a limited workload, and he did. He played 50% of snaps, but he still saw 9 targets, had like 120 yards. So it doesn't even matter if he's limited or not, because when he's on the field, he's still going to be getting those looks. But just having at least cut back for Stafford gives me a lot of optimism for them. So I'm taking the Rams here -1.5. I think that they're going to go on a little bit of a run in this second half, and I think they're going to start that off with a big division win on the road.
I like the pick a lot. Two teams trending in different directions, like you kind of talked about. Um, Seahawks are really just week to week. They looked a lot different without DK last week. Geno's like average depth of target was like 3 yards down the field. Like he was just dinking and dunking. They don't really have that field stretcher with JSN and Lockett being smaller dudes, and
Lockett's dealing with an injury too.
yeah, I don't know who was gonna really move the chains against that Rams defense. Not even really anything to the Rams defense. I just don't know who Geno's gonna feed the ball to. Ken Walker can get going, but he's had like 4 straight games of like 70 or less than 70 rush yards. So like Kieran, like you were saying, like I think the offensive line has some serious problems. I think the Seahawks have gotten a little bit healthier on defense. Like Rick Woolen has come back as of last week. And I know they had a few other guys either banged up or coming back or trending that way. So, ultimately, I think Rams kind of just, you know, set the pace of play, get up a few scores or a healthy number, and yeah, I mean, you said it's +1.5.
They're -1.5. I believe it
Minus
started at +1.5
half.
and then it flipped.
I mean, either or. I mean, that's a good number. So
Yeah,
yeah.
Seattle's defense is allowing over the last 4 weeks, they're allowing 257 passing yards per game and 129 rushing yards per game. So they've just been getting killed from both sides of it on offense. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I especially with the bye week coming up. I mean, some teams might look to go in strong. I think they just want to get to the bye week, and kind of lick their wounds and refresh and get back to it. But yeah, I mean, I think this is, if the Rams, if they want to go on a run here, then this is, where they got to kind of put their foot down and say, we're going to go 3-0 coming out of the bye. So, especially at such a small number, I like it. But yeah, like I said, I think if it opened at 1.5, I think I'd feel, or, even if it opened at a bigger spread, I think I'd feel a little more uneasy about it. But I think the fact that it was, a little bit smaller, I think the Rams did open as dogs. I think that is Vegas kind of like seeing it the same way that I'm seeing it.
Yeah, I like it as well. It wasn't on my final card, but was definitely in my top five. I was looking at it. Almost made it, but yeah, I think for all the reasons you guys, we already talked about, I was definitely leaning Rams there. So I like the pick.
All right, let me go back to it. All right, well,
I'm uh I'm going Chargers. -1.5 on the road in Cleveland. Uh, I obviously the Jameis thing was great. It's great to have him playing again. Uh, but I don't think he's gonna keep trending, and that really just I mean he was unbelievable last week. I don't think he's able to replicate that. He did have a lot of passes that were dropped, interceptions and balls that just didn't make a lot of sense. So I don't think he's able to sustain that against a Jim Harbaugh defense. I think they're going to be able to get to him, pressure him. Khalil Mack is probably going to be a problem. I'm seeing like 2 or 3 sacks in my head right now. Think it's a really tough day for that Browns offense. Who seem to find something, but in the same sense, the Chargers seem to have really found something with their identity on offense. Herbert's really coming into his own passing the ball. Lad McConkey had a little big breakout last week. He was all over the field. Had like a touchdown, 120 yards. Really, just a good day. In their run game, I think they're going to be able to dominate. On the ground, kind of just beat them up over the course of the game, and I think win pretty easily outright.
that was my number two pick. I also had the Chargers. I think you pretty much covered all of it. I think that it's just it's a good matchup. I do think that the Chargers are starting to heat up a little bit. Um, in their last four games, they've allowed 196 passing yards a game, and that
Yep.
includes a 245-yard game from Patrick Mahomes. So they've gone sub 200 in the last two games, and that includes holding Kyler Murray to 209 total yards. That includes passing and rushing. So, yeah, I mean, I think that they're going to be able to take care of business as far as Jameis goes. I mean, he has, I do think that he brings, and I think that we saw it last year as well, but just replacing Deshaun Watson, I think that opens up the offense a little bit more. And it allows them to actually do some of the concepts that they're trying to run and everything like that. And we're seeing that with Cedric Tillman starting to play well. Elijah Moore, it appears that he actually has like the best QB environment of his career right now. He's playing pretty well. But yeah, I mean, I just think that it's a good matchup here. I think this Cleveland defense is pretty bad. They've been getting killed in the air, 243 yards per game over the last four games, 4.62 yards per carry over that span as well. So yeah, I mean, I think they can come in, they can throw the ball. They're starting to find something with that pass game, and J.K. Dobbins can also just kind of do his thing that he's been doing. So yeah, I like it at the small number.
I like it. I think it's a good when I looked at that game, I didn't have it on my card, but as I was looking at that game, snap reaction was, oh, Browns with Jameis, and then I was like, this feels like a good fade spot.
Yeah.
It just feels like the right, like, all right, Jameis came in. It's a little bit like Dalton,
I think, yeah, with Jameis, it's like we've kind of already seen him do the same thing like 2 or 3 times, like with
yeah,
different
yeah,
settings and different teammates and
yeah.
different matchups. But at the end, like we've seen this plenty, I think, from Jameis. Just the ups and downs are, I mean,
But and as
that's it.
as much
It's
as we love Jameis, like, you know, there's got to be a legitimate reason as to why he was the third stringer behind Dorian, whatever that guy's name is. Like, it like there's a reason he hasn't been like a sustained starter in the league for a few years, even after getting
I mean,
LASIK.
he can also play well, and they can just lose. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
right.
it's only a one
yeah.
point spread
So
too.
what
Like, we
happens?
don't need him to just like totally shit his pants and
Yep.
Yeah,
throw
It's
five
not a very
interceptions. Like,
messy
he could just
number.
lose this game. Like,
Not a
and
mess.
there's no shame in that.
yeah.
Yep.
No, it's
Yep.
a good point.
And I think the Chargers are with that offensive line and really the front seven for them. Um, they're kind of like a scary wild card matchup. If you were if you were to see them in the playoffs, that would not be a good time with Harbaugh and that defense and Herbert just being a fucking stud. I just they're a tough draw week in week out.
I'm looking at the sheet right now.
They're just always gonna be ready to play.
Over the last four games, they've faced Terry McLaurin, AJ Brown, Jamar Chase, and Zay Flowers. This is the Browns defense. They've given up 100 yards in three of those games. Jamar Chase only had 55 yards, but he did score a touchdown. T. Higgins had 82 yards and a touchdown. So, I mean, they've just been getting killed. I mean, even when A.J. Brown had 116 and a touchdown, Devontae Smith had 64 and a touchdown. Yeah, I mean, they've given up 2 passing touchdowns in each of their last 3 games. Um, 4 games ago, they go 3 rushing touchdowns. So, yeah, I mean, I just think that the Chargers, they're just a team that I think is really tough, and they might lack the full roster of talent, but I just think that they're tough. They have good coaching. They do all the right things. Whatever it is Belichick says, where it's like you got to tackle, you got to block, all that shit, and they do those things. They do the basics, and I think they win games like these.
Yep.
All right.
You?
All right.
Investor here.
What up? What up?
He's just checking in. It's like when the principal sits in the back of a classroom.
That's right. That's exactly it. All right. I had a couple ugly games on my card this week. Um, the one I'm gonna go with, we've been talking about this trend for a couple weeks now, and I'm putting it in play. I'm gonna take the Patriots with
Woo.
points over the Titans. Um,
No.
I think, obviously there's the trend with, the Man Campbell hangover. What is the teams are like they've lost their last six,
Yeah.
covering against the Lions, or covering in the game after playing the Lions. There's obviously something to that just in terms of how physical they are, how much they beat up on you. But I think too, like, when I look at the Titans, there's a good chance they could be without their top two running backs. Spears has already been ruled out. Pollard is highly questionable. They're talking about lighting up this third stringer this week. Um, and, I think too at the quarterback position, we're possibly looking at a Will Levis return, but like, I mean, not really sure it matters in terms of whether or not it's him or um, it's Mason Rudolph. The Patriots, was reading, obviously Drake May's coming off the concussion. There is a lot of optimism that he can be ready and he can play. Um, so I think there's a little bit of like, if he does play, I feel even better about the pick. Because, obviously I feel like that offense is going to be a lot more dynamic with him under center and obviously with his legs running the football. That's going to be great. But, I do like the way that the Pats responded last week. Getting that win over the Jets, played tough. And I just feel like with the Titans coming off this game against the Lions, they are pretty banged up. They seem, pretty undermanned in terms of their top players. This just feels like one that the Pats, could steal or be right there in the mix at the very end. So I'm taking the Pats +3.
Yeah, I actually I they weren't my top three, but obviously as a Pats fan, um I couldn't really believe that they were +3. I just for what the Titans have shown, I just don't get that. I guess if the Drake May absence is baked into that number, um, it makes a little bit more sense. But I don't know. I like having the points there. I love Drake May. I think he's probably one of the best players on the field in that game Sunday. I think he's looked the part. Um, Titans are also banged up on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think L'Jarius Sneed was practicing today. So obviously that big free agent coming in may not be available. I think Calvin Ridley's banged up as well. So they could be down or with a partial, Calvin Ridley, partial L'Jarius Sneed if he even ends up playing. Um, So that coupled with all the other things they have going on the offensive side of the ball too, with injuries. Tony Pollard's been one of their best players, or maybe their best player on offense, most consistent player on offense this year. So he's I think, a substantial loss to their week to week offense. So I mean, the Pats showed a lot of life on defense last week. Seems like they responded well to Mayo, calling them soft or whatever that was. It seems like they took that as a challenge as opposed to disrespect. And I really appreciate that as a Pats fan, but also just in a general sense, I think that was the correct reaction. I think they can build off that. So, think they could have their way with that Titans offense that's obviously been struggling, could continue to struggle, and the little like touch of Man Campbell on the whole overarching reason why is just it's always good in my on my end of things. So yeah, I like the pick.
Yeah, I was 50-50 on it. I just see both sides. I see arguments for both teams. I mean, I like the trend of fading the team coming off of playing the Lions. I do think that, there's too many questions with injuries on both sides, right? Drake May's status. I do think that Tony Pollard will kind of be the key to this. Like you said, Tyjae Spears is already out. If Pollard's in, though, it is a really, really, really good rushing matchup against the Patriots right now. They've been just absolutely dreadful. I mean, the Titans just got killed on the ground against Detroit last week, but kind of so does everybody. But they've been pretty good against the run. If Drake May's not good to go, like I do just worry a little bit because I do think Brissett kind of sucks. So yeah, I mean, but at the same time, it's like the Titans as favorites. They feel like they shouldn't be favorites to anybody. So I don't know. I just feel like it's gonna be a close game. So why not take our team, take the Patriots +3.
Yeah, yeah, definitely wouldn't want to be on the other side.
I
Yeah,
mean, if Pollard can't go, then I think that that offense will just be so flat. I mean, I think they're definitely going to look to feed Ridley. I think that that's a really good matchup for him as well. The wide receiver ones they've been playing pretty well against the Pats lately. But yeah, I mean, I just think if they're not going to be able to establish any of that run game and take advantage of that matchup, then it's going to be no good for them. So I think that's really going to be the key.
Yeah. All right. Sunday Night Football.
All right, let me.
So for this, we got the Vikings are at home, right?
yeah.
Yes.
And they're 5.5-point favorites against the Colts, the Joe Flacco led Colts.
All right. There we go.
Wheel love, bro. That Jada in that wheel love.
Thanks. So the one thing that concerned me was, I hate a public dog, so I was concerned about this being too popular of a pick. So I'm also curious to see what all three of us have, but I like the Colts here. I feel like water is kind of finding its level, and I do think that this Vikings team is still really good, especially with Sam Darnold. But they were not, best team in the league good, and they were obviously kind of playing, above expectation when they started off 5-0. Sam Darnold was obviously playing at a high level, but it just felt, when he starts getting MVP votes or MVP love and stuff, that's when it feels like things are going to kind of come back around. So I feel like we're seeing that right now. That Vikings defense, they're really good. They blitz a lot. They're successful with it, but they've allowed 30 points in back-to-back weeks. Their pass defense has been bad. Over their last four, it's 298 yards per game, 3 passing touchdowns per game. So I feel like Joe Flacco, he's a veteran. He knows how to stand in there and play against the blitz. I like what he can do in this matchup. He's played in 8 games since last season. Those games have been high scoring, first of all, but his teams have scored 27 plus in 5 of those 8 games. And he's thrown for at least 2 touchdowns in all 8 of those games. So I think it's a good matchup. They have a good rushing matchup for Jonathan Taylor. I think that Pittman and Downs can do really well. And I just think they can stay inside the number. I think this can be a close game, come down to the end. I see it, I still think the Vikings could pull out the win, but I see that being more of a field goal game.
Mhm.
All right.
That's what we will.
Ooh,
All right.
Well, this is going to be very interesting to see what Bowen has to say because I am also on the Colts plus 5.5. Um, as you were talking about, like the move to Flacco. Vikings obviously come back to earth a little bit, have lost their last two. And I think a lot of that, you were talking about the defense. They've given up 30 points the last couple of games. And I think a lot of that's been attributed to Blake Cashman, their top linebacker, being out. He's missed two straight and he's going to be out again, which obviously that's a key for them. They also lost their left tackle last week. Very important position. They had to make a trade to get somebody in to be able to fill that spot. And I think not only are the Colts going to get the Flacco boost, but I think the Texans losing on Thursday night was big for them because it puts them right back in the mix for the division. So feel like they're going to be highly motivated to go out, get a win, get back within a game. But I think they've got to feel like they're right back in it. So I like the Colts here.
All right, hold on.
Gotta go to the wheel.
This is incredible.
Holy shit.
All right, so I mean, obviously, I see what you're saying, Tristan. Because you can kind of manipulate with the Costanza rule, you can kind of manipulate what you actually want the pick to be in a spot like this. But if I'm being 100% transparent, I've been a heavy lean on the Vikings. Since I've started looking at the lines a couple days ago. That I like him in this spot to rebound off the past two games. They have Hawkinson coming back. I think he brings a spark. We haven't seen Hawkinson play with Darnold. I think adding another weapon to Darnold could be real spicy. Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, that's a hard team to cover, play in and play out. I think just the Vikings in general, they're a real scrappy team. I think they're the team that can kind of make this ugly number kind of just disappear. I think their offense can really get moving, and their defense is still really good, even though they've lost the past couple games. So I've been on the Vikings all week. I like them to win this game big. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they are coming off of the uncalled face mask, which I mean it really is ridiculous.
That's overrated.
You cannot step in and make that call. I mean
Yeah.
when it's that obvious, when you can literally look up on the scoreboard, see the replay, and see how clear and obvious that face mask is, it blows my mind that they are just legally unable to step in and say, "Yep, I'm going to drop the flag now." That was a penalty. But yeah, they are coming off of that, and it actually is a pretty good tight end matchup. So I mean, Kevin O'Connell's been saying that it should be full go for Hawkinson. Coach Speak Index says that he's pretty reliable when he says those types of things. So it does seem like Hawkinson might really be full go, so he can maybe take advantage of that. And they've also actually Hawkinson's actually an interesting one. I had put because this was before when I was doing the house call sheet. This was before Hawkinson was confirmed in, but I had Josh Oliver and Johnny Munt as two guys that you could play both on because their odds would probably be so high that you could, as long as one of them hit, you could make a pretty decent profit. But when they get inside the five, Darnold's thrown 8 passes inside the 5 yard line, and I've watched a bunch of these games. But when they get inside and the defense is really trying to stack themselves against the run, they'll do like a play action and then just like throw it to the flat, throw it to a tight end. So he's thrown 8 passes, thrown 5 touchdowns, and Johnny Munt and Josh Oliver have 3 of those 5 touchdowns inside the 5.
Yep.
So I mean, that is like a way that he looks. So if Hawkinson's stepping into that role, then I think that he could have a pretty big game. But yeah, I mean, I definitely do see it. And like I said, I still think I like the Vikings to win. I just think that it's going to be a game that's inside of a touchdown, and if that's my read on it, then I got to take the 5.5 points.
Yeah, it really is. Pick your poison there. I think it's going to be a close game, but they just kind of have those extra bodies to push that number forward. So we'll see. I didn't want to just use the Cassandra rule for my own.
Yeah, you could have flipped it to your side.
That's a bad precedent, though. I want to be transparent
But at
with
the
it.
same time, we'll never know. Maybe you were actually really into the Colts and you wanted to keep it on your side as well. So
See, well,
we'll
that's
never.
I'll never tell you. I'll never tell you where I'm at.
Tristan, for the record, right? So last week we were all three are on the same side and it flipped, but on the standings, what does that count as? A loss?
The loss.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I'm picturing like as soon as I announced Colts plus 5.5, Bowen going to Chat GPT and asking
Give me a reason. Yeah, give me a good reason for the Vikings.
exactly. And then just reading it like Bosco word for word.
All right. All right. Monday Night Football.
Let's do it.
Uh, it's Bucks at Chiefs -8.5, right?
Ugh.
That's right.
Benny again. Oh my
This is
God.
crazy.
Unconscious.
That's
I mean,
unbelievable.
that's a sweep, right? I mean,
It
I
is.
got the first in the individual pick,
Crazy.
first on both. So that's maybe the first sweep in history.
I can't remember a time that there was another sweep. That's
Dominant
That's
wheel.
unbelievable.
Holy.
rare, man. Rare.
That's really unbelievable.
Oh,
All right, Bucks at Chiefs. Um, They fucked us last week, but I'm not gonna shy away from the line. I actually still like the Chiefs at home as big favorites. I'm not sure how Mahomes is doing. I know historically a couple years ago he was always bad against the spread, but I do think he's better in prime time. I'm not actually sure. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but this Chiefs defense is very good. I do feel like could be a game where those Bucks injuries catch up. I do think that Kate Otten has a good matchup here, and he can be leaned on heavy, but I just feel like these wide receivers are too inexperienced. They're not going to be able to get it done against these cornerbacks, and I think that Baker Mayfield might struggle a little bit. So, the Chiefs, I think they still also match up good offensively. Kareem Hunt, he's a little banged up. He hasn't been playing the greatest, but I feel like this is also a good matchup for Kelsey. Maybe that could be actually a nice little tight end parlay, Kate Ott and Travis Kelsey touchdown parlay. That could be interesting. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like they're going to continue to further install D Hop into this lineup, and lean on Travis Kelsey, and I just feel like they're going to get it going here against the Bucks.
okay.
Same order. Wow.
That's definitely the first time.
All right. Um, I'm going Bucks plus 8.5. The number feels too big to me. I know Mayfield's got, he doesn't have a great history on Monday Night Football. I mean, he just got waxed on Monday Night Football a couple weeks ago. Um, but I did feel like, it was interesting watching them against the Falcons last week because, we started to see like it feels like they transitioned pretty quickly away from like how they ran the offense, obviously, when Evans and Godwin were in there. But I thought they made a pretty quick switch and they looked good in terms of how they leaned pretty heavy on White and Irving out of the backfield. Both of those guys running the ball, pass catching out of the backfield. You talked about Cade Otton. Like he's been coming on for a few weeks now, and I think last week was just I mean, that was, like a boom performance for him. Um, they also got fucked in that game. With that Kyle Pitts play. I mean, I can't believe they didn't call that back. But I mean, that was the difference in that game. But I thought they looked good. And, I think with the Chiefs, like we've seen kind of how they've been winning. They obviously fucked us last week, letting the Raiders backdoor at the end there. Um, and, I just, Baker's a fighter, man. I just feel like this number's too big with how the Chiefs have looked. Um, and I feel like the Bucks are gonna hang around. And so with that, I'm gonna take a pretty sizable number.
If I may, just to provide some stats as well. So I'm looking at the sheet.
Mhm.
Kansas City's defense in the last 4 weeks, they faced Herbert, Carr, Purdy, and Minshew. That's 195 passing yards per game. Uh, to running backs, they've allowed over the last four 60 total yards per game. That's that's rushing and receiving. 2.47 yards per carry, 2.57 yards per carry on the season. 62 yards per game. This is just very good.
Good dude.
Yeah, it's very good defense.
Yep.
All right. Let me make sure I got the right wheel. Yep.
All right. Give me the Chiefs. I just I have to go back. I'm a glutton for pain. 8.5, same number as last week. It just felt right. Um, I do think it's a different game though. I think DeAndre being back or with the team another week can only do that offense good. We saw a bit of what it's going to be like with him. But I think in the red zone especially, he's going to be their guy. That they just kind of pepper on the one-on-one balls, the 50-50 balls, and just kind of those like those feel spots where the Chiefs always seem to make teams pay. Kelsey had a big week last week. He's really coming on this year. Mahomes still a little weird. I think the tempo of the whole offense in general is a little weird. At times they really got if you felt kind of stagnant at times, with their offense, and it's kind of been like that all year. But they always find a way to, have their scoring opportunities at least. I do think it's a biased thought, but I think Xavier Worthy has been integrated into the offense a bit more recently. He's had I think 6, 8, and 8 targets the last 3 games since Rice has been out. I think we see one deep ball get into the end zone or real close to it. This week, I think he's due for one of those big shots, and with those targets, have a pretty good game. Especially with DeAndre and Travis Kelce taking up a lot of real estate in the defense's brain. And the Bucks are very susceptible to getting burned on big pass plays, so I think it's a smash spot for him. So I I think the Chiefs are able to move the ball relatively easily against the Bucks. I don't think the Bucks are going to be able to do it as easily against the Chiefs, who have a really good defense, like Kieran said. So yeah, I just like the spot. Going back to the well one more time. If they burn me again, I'm already numb, so it doesn't really matter.
Just
like
some more
Mahomes.
stats too. So I'm looking at the Tampa Bay side of things.
Mhm.
Over the last 4 games, they've allowed 4 passing touchdowns in 3 games. They're allowing 327 passing yards per game over the last month. They've been mixed bag. They've been pretty good against the run in that span, except for Derrick Henry just went crazy against them. But yeah, I mean, I think this is one where I mentioned Kareem Hunt. He's banged up. He hasn't been playing great. I feel like, we used to see it all the time with the Pats, right? They knew when to go run heavy, when to go pass heavy. Even with Tom Brady at quarterback, they knew when to exploit different matchups. And it's like, well, you know what? They're really bad against the run. I don't care if we have Tom Brady. We're going to run it 35 times tonight and just go absolutely nuts and just hammer the ball all night. And I feel like this is going to be one of those games on the other side of that where it's, you know what? They've actually been pretty decent against the run. Our running backs are a little banged up. We're just going to throw it a million times. Zach, you were actually saying it as I was looking at the stat, and I was looking for a moment to butt in. But I do think this could be a pretty big game for Xavier Worthy. So I'm looking at wide receiver twos because I do think that even if D Hop's a little limited with the snaps that he gets, he slots into that power slot Rashee Rice role. So I would still consider him kind of the wide receiver one operating in that offense. So I'm looking at the wide receiver twos though. Over the last 5 games, Paris Campbell, Darnell Mooney, Rashad Bateman, Darnell Mooney again. They've all had pretty big games. I mean, Mooney went crazy twice. Bateman had 121 yards. Paris Campbell, who is not great, scored a touchdown. I think that, if they are going to run the score up and they're going to throw it a bunch of times, It's almost like, like when the Lions get going and they just get everybody a touchdown. Xavier Worthy is one of those guys, right? It's the same thing, Jameson Williams. When the Lions are having a big game, they're going to hit a deep shot to Jameson Williams. Just going to happen. I think that Worthy is going to be the same. They're going to run some type of trick play maybe, or just scheme him open and just get him a ton of open field for a big touchdown. But I could see that as well. But also just against tight ends, they've allowed 4 touchdowns, and I know that Kyle Pitts had the controversial one, but over the last month against tight ends, it's 80 yards a game, a touchdown a game, and that's 4 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks. So yeah, I think Worthy's in line for a big performance. I think Kelsey's in line for a big performance. If they want to get their passing game right, this would be the matchup to try and do that.
Worthy low key 5 touchdowns on the year. He's sneaky fun in the end zone. Early on. It's a good sign.
He's also plus 1,400 to score 2 touchdowns.
I mean, talk to me nice.
What is he to score one?
175.
Wow, that's a big jump.
Oh, that's right. So I was thinking, 'cause I was going through taking notes, just writing down potential guys for the touchdown parlay, and I was like, why didn't I have him in there? But that's because he's prime time. But
I think I
Right.
might. I think I might do so that. I told you guys how I'm doing that bozo parlay with the St. Paul's guys, right?
yeah,
Um, so far the picks that are in. Sharky's got Stafford 2+ passing TDs at plus 100. Keith's got DeAndre Swift TD. Davies got a Drake London TD. Woodward has a Bijan TD.
all right.
Do I go Xavier Worthy plus 175?
Oh, making people sweat on Monday.
I like Worthy. Yeah, I do like Worthy.
That's what I'm thinking. I've done it before too. Make them sweat on the Monday night game, so we can't.
I will say with 2 Falcons in that thing,
I know it's a little. It may not matter.
what I hate about it is that I really like Kyle Pitts to score this week.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see what happens. But I think I'm gonna go Worthy on this. I
Nice.
don't think I told you guys this a couple weeks ago. Um, what was the game? The I forget what the early game was, but Davy's pick was in an early game. I don't know if it was a London game or if it was like, whatever, and it had already lost. So then by that point, we're like, we haven't even gotten to the 1 o'clock games, and we're like, shit, the Bozo parlay is already dead. Like, should we run it back? Like, do we just like Davey? Do you want to make another pick? And so he was like, sure, I'll make another pick. So he does, and we put it in, and his pick lost again.
That's tough.
Yeah, so we lost twice in the same week. All right, I think I'm gonna go Worthy. All right, well, so we're going Chiefs. So the picks for this week. I'm going Patriots +3 against the Titans. Kieran's on the Rams -1.5 against Seattle. Bowen's on the Chargers -1.5 against the Browns. Kieran and I were on the Colts +5.5 against the Vikings. That'll be the Sunday night pick. Bowen was on the other side. For the Monday night game, Kieran and Bowen are on the Chiefs -8.5. That'll be the pick. I was on the Bucks +8.5. Those are the picks. I'll get them
All
in.
right. I mean, listen, 5-0 week really turns things around.
Does I mean
Start of a
And
new quarter. Start of a new
Yeah,
quarter.
this is also the start of the first week of the quarter, right?
Yep, this is the time to.
So
I'm
let's put another
leaving
big
these
number on the
shows-
board, and let's start cooking in the
I
second.
left like you said, Tristan, earlier when you were doing the intro. Last week felt really good. I felt good going into the weekend. I feel good going into this weekend too. After this epi, I feel strong. I feel like everyone's you know,
I like.
it's all coming together.
Is it just quarters, or is there prizes for halves too?
I think they do a half. I think they do. Yeah.
All right.
But,
Imagine
uh,
that. Imagine we cleaned up on that.
yeah. We just go on a crazy run. We take 2 quarters, a half, and the full thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where obviously it's so much easier said than done. But it's like, I mean, strung together so many poor weeks. If we just string together literally a strong month, I mean, we can get, if we can get close to 500 after this week and then, get over 500 next week, like if we were able to do that, we're suddenly back in the hunt for some money. I mean, obviously, it's still going to take a very strong second half, and it's one of those where we can't let up if we have one bad week that kind of fucks it for us. But I mean, if we can just get back to, just being profitable, right? 53, 54%. I think all of a sudden we're in the hunt where if we got hot to end the season, we could actually potentially cash. So I mean, yeah, we gotta hit pretty much every single week for it to happen. But
If we if
we're
we
not as doom and gloom as it felt. I mean, if we went like 1-4 last week, then then we'd just be out. But we could turn this around.
if we go 4-1 for the next 3 weeks, we'll be 28-27. Just to put it in perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great.
Feels achievable. So
Yeah. Still a lot of football left. A lot of football left.
yeah. No.
We go 5-0 over the next 2 weeks.
We go 5-0 the next 2 weeks. We're 26-24.
Yeah.
We do it again with 31-24.
10 exit. Andy Elliott.
I think
I actually laughed at that video of him hyping up the Patriots.
yeah.
That was actually pretty funny.
10X
I'm
is
obsessed with LA's army, bro. I'm obsessed.
10X is that's Grant Cardone. That's
Oh, bro. Grant Cardone's daughter is the worst. Have you seen her?
I don't know. I don't even know.
Oh, bro. She's been on my timeline way too much recently.
Hold on. Grant Cardone's daughter. What's her name?
It's like Sophie, I think.
These people are
Bro,
grifters.
she's like, my plan for the future and how to make money, work for my dad. Make $40 million. Put that in the real estate. Make $100 billion. It's like, what are we talking about? Like, yeah, no shit. Like, of course you're gonna be a little rich girl. What are you talking? Of course. Like,
You're gonna
they're like the most like tone deaf people in the world. Just like
you gotta send me a thing. I don't know, or I'll just Google it.
I'll find her. I'll find you.
No, these people are crazy grifters though. It's insane.
It's crazy, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah. I went back and I refound that guy, the guy who was talking about how he manipulates time and gets like 3 days in one. I'm just like, holy shit. It's funny though. I was in a new business meeting the other day, and one of the things that because we've got an office in San Francisco and then one in New York, but they operate as like, one P&L. It's one company, whereas like a lot of agencies, when you have different offices, they're on their own P&Ls. So like each one's responsible for their own book of business. And so one of the things that we talk about is, it's nice because like since we work as one office, it, essentially extends our day by 3 hours, because like, a guy in New York can sign off and hand a project over to somebody in San Francisco and they can work on it for another 3 hours before they log off. And then, when the New York guy logs on at 9 a.m., he picks it back up. And as I'm like talking about it, I'm thinking to myself, I feel like that guy talking about how we found a way to manipulate time and like add 3 days or 3 hours to our day. I was just like laughing at myself in this meeting. But anyway. All right. Picks are in.
Let's get it.
All right.
5-0.
Big week.
All right. I'll see you guys.
I'll see you guys. Peace.